Hey everyone, I'm Jian Sam. A few days ago, I got a comment that really stuck with me. I know the difference between 지금 and 방금, but when do you use 이제 and what's the difference there? This comment is asking about the difference between 지금 and 이제, and this is something a lot of Korean learners struggle with, and it is confusing because both 지금 and 이제 often get translated as now in English. Do you remember when Jin said
너무 기뻐요 지금.
너무 기뻐요 지금 and
나도 놀랐어 지금.
나도 놀랐어 지금. And when Jungkook said
이제 코앞이에요.
이제 코앞이에요 and
잘해야지 이제.
잘해야지 이제. So, what's the difference? 지금 literally means now or right now. It focuses on this exact moment, like what's happening at this second, or a feeling or action that is currently true. It's very similar to present continuous or present state in English. Like, I'm working now. 나 지금 일하는 중이야. Let's look at an example from Jin. It was when Jin and J-Hope competed for the anchor role, and Jin won. Jin said,
너무 기뻐요 지금.
너무 기뻐요 지금. Let's break it down. 너무 means so or very. 기뻐요 is a polite form of 기쁘다, meaning to be happy. 지금 means right now. So the sentence means I'm so happy right now. Here, Jin is describing his current emotional state, which is why he used 지금. Let's look at another example. This was when Jin tried a tongue twister, nailed it, and said,
나도 놀랐어 지금.
나도 놀랐어 지금. 나 means I. 도 means also. So 나도 means I also or me too. 놀랐어 is a past tense of 놀라다, meaning to be surprised. And as we know, 지금 means right now. So this sentence means I'm also surprised right now. But wait, here's the question. If 지금 means now, why is 놀랐어 in the past tense? I was surprised now? That doesn't make sense. In Korean, emotions often use the past tense to describe the moment you realized or felt that emotion. So 놀랐어 doesn't mean the surprise is over. It means the moment I realized it, I felt surprised, and that feeling is still true now. But then, why did Jin say 기뻐요, present tense, instead of 기뻤어요, past tense? 기쁘다 describes an ongoing emotional state, not a sudden reaction. So when you say 기뻐요, you're saying I'm happy and I'm still in that state. That's why we use the present tense. So if you say 기뻤어요, it means I was happy, but that happiness is already over. On the other hand, 놀라다 describes a reaction to a moment. They focus on the instant you realized or felt something. So Koreans naturally say 놀랐어요, even if that feeling is still true now. Let me show you another example of emotional reaction. 긴장하다 means to be nervous, tensed. In Korean, 긴장하다 describes an emotional reaction that starts at a specific moment. So the past tense of 긴장하다 is 긴장했어. 쟤 지금 긴장했어. He or she is nervous right now. Even if the speaker is still nervous right now, Korean focuses on the starting point of that feeling, which is why the past tense is used. Now, here's the tricky part. G-Dragon also used 지금 when he was nervous, but he didn't use the past tense. He said,
지금 떨려요.
지금 떨려요. 떨려요 can also mean to be nervous. So the sentence means I'm nervous right now. But here he used the present tense instead of the past tense. 떨렸어요. So why? What's the difference between 긴장하다 and 떨리다? 긴장하다 literally means to be nervous. It's one of the clearest words in Korean for describing an emotional feeling. It focuses on your mental state. But 떨리다 actually means to shake. Its literal meaning is shaky. So when Koreans use 떨리다 to talk about emotions, they're not describing the feeling itself, but the physical reactions that come with it. Things like shaky hands, a trembling voice, or a racing heart. That's why 떨리다 describes a physical sensation happening right now. Even though both sentences talk about being nervous, 긴장했어 focuses on the mental reaction, the past tense when the feeling started. 떨려요 focuses on the physical sensation, the present tense, what's happening right now. That's why Koreans naturally say 지금 긴장했어요, 지금 떨려요. Let me show you another example where 지금 isn't about emotions. G-Dragon once said,
지금도 마찬가지예요.
지금도 마찬가지예요. Now we know 지금 means now. 도 can mean still or even. 마찬가지 means the same. 에요 is the polite form of to be. So this sentence means it's still the same now. In other words, nothing has changed. It's the same even now. Then, what about 이제? This is where things get interesting. Unlike 지금, 이제 is not just about time. It's about a change, a turning point, or a new phase. 지금 describes what is happening. 이제 describes what is changing. Let's compare these two side by side. When Jungkook was preparing for his comeback, he said,
이제 코앞이에요.
이제 코앞이에요. You might remember 코앞이에요 from our last lesson. If you haven't watched that video yet, make sure to check the link above first. So, what does 코앞이에요 mean again? Just around the corner. So, this sentence means it's just around the corner now. But why did Jungkook use 이제 here? By adding 이제, Jungkook is showing that something that used to feel far away has finally become very close. It highlights a change in the situation. In other words, we've reached the point where it's extremely close. What if we use 지금 instead? Remember, 지금 simply describes the current state. So, 지금 코앞이에요 would mean it is very close right now. This isn't grammatically wrong, but it doesn't really fit situations like a comeback that has been approaching over time. Instead, 지금 코앞이에요 is more natural in situations like this. Let's say Suga and Jungkook are meeting. Suga is already here, and Jungkook is almost there. Suga calls Jungkook to check where he is. Suga asks, 어디야? Where are you? Jungkook says, 지금 코앞이에요. I'm just around the corner now. That's when 지금 works, when you're describing your current position, not a long process. That's why for Jungkook's comeback, 이제 코앞이에요 sounds much more natural.
이제 코앞이에요.
Let's look at another Jungkook example. Jungkook also said,
잘해야지 이제.
잘해야지 이제. 잘하다 means to do well. When you add 어야지, it becomes I should do well. But here, 이제 is not about time. It's about a change in attitude, a movement of resolution or determination. So this sentence means I should do better from now on. It signals a turning point. Things are going to be different from this point forward. Now, let's look at one last example from Wonyoung. Before trying military training, she thought it would just be interesting or fun. But after actually experiencing it, she realized how difficult it really was. So she said,
알 것 같아.
이제 알 것 같아요. 알 것 같다 means to think I know, to seem to understand. So here, 이제 marks the moment she reached understanding. Before, she didn't really get it, but now she finally does. So this sentence means, I think I get it now, or now I finally understand. So today we learned about the difference between 지금 and 이제. 지금 describes what is happening at this exact moment. It focuses on the current state. 이제 marks a change. It signals a shift in situation, mindset, or understanding. So remember, 지금 is what's happening now, and 이제 is what changes from now on. If this finally helped you understand the difference between 지금 and 이제, make sure to like and save this video. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions. See you in the next one!